then like people ask like, well, I don't know, where do I find a designer? Like, I don't know, what should I hire for? So I think like first of all, like I recommend people looking for someone who has a product design background. I think you just need to understand there's different kinds of designers. There's graphic designers, like visual designers. There can be UX designers or like brand designers. So it's not like every designer is the same, that their skill set is the same. It doesn't mean that these designers can't do product design, but I think it's if they haven't done any product design, then they probably they need to learn a lot, which then like makes things harder. So ideally, you find someone who has a little bit experience in this. Also, like I don't recommend people getting too kind of hyped or impressed by big company names. Like, yeah, this person worked at Facebook or Google or something. It doesn't exactly mean that they are a good fit for your startup. The reason is that like large companies, the way design works in a large company is very different than how design works in startups. In startups, you just try to get things done. Like you need to design everything, like the whole product. In the large companies, a lot of times the designers are focusing on a very small area and working on a very small kind of visual areas or just like features in general. So that's why I don't necessarily like recommend that. Or I mean, I don't think like again like you cannot hire from these large companies. I would just like treat it as a flag that like okay, like we need to check like in the interviews you just need to ask them like okay, what kind of design did you do, and try to get a sense that could they be a good fit. If you don't know about design yourself, you don't have like that background, maybe you can try to use your friends that are designers, or try to use your investors, or ask your investors do they know any designers to talk to. So I think like always when you're building a company, if you don't know something, ask someone to help you. And I think like you always find people can help you. Just do like very simple example, like how do you interview designers? So one thing is, yeah, you should interview them, like you asked about their background, similar to any other role. Just try to understand like what they actually have done and like what kind of team they worked on, how many people were in the team, what kind of accomplishments they have done. And I think the next step, often you can ask the designer to do a portfolio review. Usually designers have a portfolio, or they can create one, and they basically just show the work that they have done, and like you let them present that to you, like explain like why they did certain things, and like and then you can see their style and also understanding in that. And then you can ask questions too, like oh, why did you choose this direction, or like how do you feel about it now? Like would you change something later? Like, and that way you can kind of like get a sense like what is their experience. The third step, which is like sometimes I don't know if it's not always possible, but you can try to ask them like do some work. At Linear, we've been doing this work trials where we ask people to work with us on a project for a couple of days, but we will pay for that time. So kind of like a market rate pay for that, we pay for that time. At Airbnb, we ask them to do like some home assignments. I think as a startup, it might be sometimes hard to ask people to do this because like I don't know, if someone's applying to Airbnb and we ask them like you should do an assignment, they're like, okay, I will do an assignment. But as a startup, you don't always have that leverage. But I think like the other thing you could do is just to ask them like let's hop on a call, let's look at some website or some product out there, talk about it, like how they would change it or what kind of things they would do to make it better. And then you can kind of see like what's their style or like how they approach problems. And so that can be useful to get a sense. And just like I said to expectations, I think like if you're hiring someone to a startup, I think usually they should start contributing as soon as possible. I think like sometimes there might be like maybe some designer worked in a large company and usually take months to get anything started because you need to do this research and whatever. With the startup, you don't really have that luxury. You kind of have to set the expectations like, yeah, like we can research things, but we also need to like do stuff. So we can do both at the same time. And usually as a startup, you talk to people, you build something, you talk to them again. And so I think like generally my expectation would be like a designer should in a couple of weeks start producing something and not be like, well, I need to research this topic for like 6 months. Because then obviously you will be just wasting 6 months. So it's better to get started faster.